Last week, as Leslie said, we spoke about land, and I'd like to continue, especially if you could speak about the different financing options when it comes to land purchases.
Sure. So, there you might be limited sometimes when just trying to buy raw land, right? Not every lender, has a product for that. Like
Right,
especially like what most people might think of as traditional lenders, like the big banks. However, if you're purchasing land and going to do construction from the ground up,
right,
or maybe start with a modular and then construct from there. Then you can get more, traditional type financing, and or what's known as a construction loan or construction to permanent loan,
right,
where it's inclusive of the ability to be able to purchase the land plus buy, build the property as well.
right. So how
Yeah.
long does it usually take? Does it take longer than just obtaining a regular mortgage?
So I do a lot of construction loans. So I always tell people that that timing is usually the number one killer in those deals, because if let's say you find a plot of land that you want to build on and you're like, okay, great. Now I found the land. I go into contract with the seller of the land. If you're unable to pay cash for the land, or you're unable to get a land loan, like I said, they are a little bit more difficult. I think you're usually going to be your best options are to look for like a local,
Right,
um, like savings and loan, or a place that's like really indigenous to the market.
right,
um but if you're the issue, if you like, let's say you come to somebody like me and say, hey, I found the land now, and I need them, I want to borrow the money to for the land as well as to build the home. Before we can close on everything, you would
right,
need to have your plans, you would need to have the builder chosen, you would need to have a contract with the builder. So I always tell people, like, if you are looking for land, simultaneously you should be doing your work with an architect or a
right.
builder and figuring out what you want to build, because in order for us to appraise what this new property is going to potentially be,
Correct.
we need all of those things, not just the contract for the land, but the contract with the builder as well as the plan. So, but the loans themselves, typically I would say you want to give it at least, 45 to 60 days, because there's a whole other set of underwriting that's happening on those types of loans, because not only are you being underwritten, your credit, your income, your assets, like you would if you were getting a traditional mortgage,
Right,
but also your project is being underwritten. Like they're looking, an underwriter, a different underwriter is looking at what you're building, what the what the materials are that you're using to build, how how that project is is going to be, like how the money's going to be drawn out, right? So
right,
there's a lot of variables, and it's, they're definitely more intricate, and take a little bit longer because of that extra underwriting, like that. It's just like another set of another underwriter that has to approve the
right.
loan.
And I think if you do a construction to permanent loan, I mean, you really have to be organized. A client of mine did it about a year ago, and I mean, she was very organized in having the contractor, all the plans, all the, every before they released
Yes.
money on the permanent loan, they really had to. She had to have all the ducks in order,
All
and
the ducks in order. And the other thing too, with most construction lenders, not just, citizens, is, I oftentimes have people contact me and they're like, well, I want to GC my own project.
right,
I can get the tile cheaper and I can do this. And,
right,
when you're getting a construction loan, that's typically not, going to be allowed by the lender, right? They want to see that, that everything is being handled by, a licensed builder, who's then managing the project, right? And I always say, like, loans don't always fit in with,
right,
well, I kind of want to do, like, I only need a loan for this and I'm gonna do the rest myself,
right,
like it's typically like that's going to be problematic.
Oh, absolutely. Their insurance may not be in order. I mean, you have a lot of other
Right.
problems to consider.
Right. Plus,
Right.
plus what I think the best thing is when you're buying or doing, building something, the best thing to do is have a construction loan so someone's managing how much money is being distributed and
Yes.
has to answer to someone. So
Correct.
Yeah, Leslie, that's such a good point because I, oftentimes will, hear from, even my own clients like, oh, my builder is like, like trying to get money and you guys haven't released the money and I'll take a look at the inspections that are done and I'm like, look, only 40% of your project is done right now. Like, so we've released 40% of your
Right.
budget. Like, where's, like he did, like the builder should be farther along here, or he's, like asking for money on something that actually hasn't been installed yet. So,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, so I do feel like it is good to have a construction loan because it's a second,
Set of-
um, yeah, like I always say, like, look, we could be the bad guys, right? So
someone else to answer to. They know
Right.
when they're getting into taking the job on, they know they're answering to someone. So it gives a little more accountability.
yes,
I works well, so much better for everyone involved.
yes,
When you're buying land and you're just hoping for the best with a contractor, you don't really know that contractor.
Yeah.
And most of them are honest, but there are occasions where I see it goes sideways. And
Right.
Oh, listen, I mean, and it happens. It has happened on a few of my loans where customers have called up after the fact and said, look, I think I need to fire my builder. Like, now what? How do we deal with this construction loan? And, we do have ways around that. They can find another builder, they still have their loan. I once had, I mean, there's so many horror stories, but I mean, I once did have a customer that just, like called me and said, like like my builder has like $350,000 of my money and, like they're, like I don't, like now what, like I'm not happy with where the build is. And I'm like, I looked at their loan and I said, it looks like we've only approved, like $60,000 or whatever it was, right? And she's like, well, yeah, but he told me he needed it, so I paid it out of my own money. And it's like what you said, Leslie. Like then they were caught in
Right.
like, yeah, guess what? It's a lot harder, to get the like. Listen, I just did a little renovation project myself this summer, and my the outstanding balance to my contractor is about $40,000, and we have a punch list of some items that
Right.
need to be done. It's actually not anywhere near $40,000 worth, but I was like, look, you need to come back and finish these things, and then you'll get your last check. So,
Right.
right.
It's good to have somebody else accountable.
Yes.
yeah, and especially when it's meaningful like that. Like I'm sure he doesn't want to leave $40,000 on the table.
Right.
No.
Right.
No. But I think with any
Right.
construction in general, any renovation you do, it's always good to have, like, I always believe to have, people like to have a builder who works with the architect. It's almost good to have somebody independent so they
Yeah.
are, they work well together, but yet they're responsible to each other.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, agreed.
Have separate.
On the financing side, I think it's important to mention that interest rates on a construction loan are typically going to be a little bit higher than if you were getting a traditional loan, right? So
Right.
there's definitely more risk involved. With a construction loan, all sorts of things can happen. And so most lenders do what's called risk-based pricing. And so therefore, like you might find that like our construction loans typically run about 0.25% higher than if they were getting a traditional 30-year fixed or a 10-year ARM or a 7-year ARM. And then also like there's all different types of construction to perm. Like there are some where you have a construction loan and you those terms up front, and then when the property's done you get a different loan and you get different terms. And then there's other loans where like we offer, which is everything is negotiated up front during, like you lock in the rate, the payment, it's not the payment, the rate and the type of mortgage that you're doing. And then during the construction period, you just make interest only payments on the amount that you're using, like as you draw from the loan. And then when it's permanent, when it converts to permanent, then it converts over to a, like a fully principal and interest payment. Yeah. And you don't have to apply again or, get a new loan or be, wary of like what the market's going to be at that time.
So that's great. Establish that price or that interest rate when you take
Yeah.
out construction to permanent. So that's
Yeah.
very,
Yeah, that's,
All right.
that model is probably the easiest model for most people.
right.
Yeah.
And the preferable.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just doesn't work for the transaction.
Right.
Sometimes it does. Correct.
I think it's a lot of good information you've given us and we've discussed last week and this week.
Awesome.
If you have any questions, please call us at my line is 914-906-4376.
914. I'm an attorney. My number is 914-725-4800.
And you can DM me through Instagram if you're on this, then that's how you can find me. Thank
Okay.
you. Thanks, ladies.
Great week. Be well.
All right, bye bye.
Bye-bye.